My parents made up a game where I would pretend to be two different kids, but what I thought was harmless fun turned out to be the most disturbing thing I've ever discovered. Growing up, my parents had this weird game where I'd switch between two identities. My real name was Brian, but sometimes I'd be Ricky instead. When I was little, it seemed harmless enough. Brian liked soccer, and Ricky liked video games. Brian had doctor's appointments on Tuesday, and Ricky on Friday. My parents would laugh and switch between the names like it was normal. As I got older, the game happened less in public and more at home. I was always Brian at school and with friends, but at home, my parents would randomly tell me to be Ricky, introduce me to family friends as Ricky, have me talk about different hobbies, then switch me back. By 16, I thought it was strange, but figured they weren't ready for me to grow up. When I got my first job at a grocery store, the manager said I needed my birth certificate and license for paperwork. I asked my mom for my birth certificate while she was making dinner. She rushed to their bedroom and I heard the locked safe opening. Then she came back and handed me a folder without looking at it before checking that the food hadn't burned. The next day, I took my documents to work, but the HR woman opened my folder and her face scrunched up. "Honey, the name on your birth certificate doesn't match your license." I couldn't believe when I looked at the certificate. Ricky was printed in official letters, not Brian. I'd been Brian my entire life at school, on my records, with my friends. Ricky was the pretend one. I told her there must be a mistake and asked if I could come back with the correct one, then drove back home, gripping the steering wheel as tight as I could. My parents were watching television when I walked in. I held up the birth certificate and asked why it had the wrong name. My mom's face went pale. "It's not the wrong one," she said quietly. "You can use either name legally. We'll get you a new license." That didn't make sense, so I asked why they'd been playing this game my whole life. My dad said we'd talk about it later, that I was overreacting, but the way they were acting made my skin crawl. That night after they went to bed, I went into their home office and looked through filing cabinets until I found our tax returns. Every single one claimed two dependents, Brian and Ricky, with two separate social security numbers. I kept digging with shaking hands and found medical records for both names, immunization records for both names, school paperwork showing Ricky was homeschooled while Brian attended public school. Two whole people on paper when I was the only kid in this house. The next morning, I dropped the paperwork on the kitchen table. Explain this: two kids on the taxes, two social security numbers. My mom started crying, and my dad told me I had no right to go through their documents. "Who is Ricky?" I demanded. My dad tried to grab the papers, but I threatened to call the police, and he sat down heavily. "Ricky is your cousin in another state. We help support him and claim him on our taxes." That made no sense. "Then why have you been making me pretend to be him?" My dad said quickly. "The game was to help you understand Ricky is part of our family," but every word felt wrong. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling this aunt right now." My mom's face went white. "Don't, please." My dad put his head in his hands. "There is no cousin, is there?" My mom shook her head. "You had a brother, a twin, Ricky." The room spun. "Where is he?" "He got sick when you were 2, my mom said, her voice breaking. "Meningitis. He died in 3 days." I felt sick. "Why are you still claiming him? Why did you make me pretend to be him?" My parents looked at each other. We couldn't afford to lose the benefits. We were barely scraping by and thought we'd do it for 1 year, but it became 2, then 5, and we couldn't stop. My brain felt like it short-circuited. "So you've been forcing me to commit fraud for 14 years. My dad got defensive. "We gave you a better life. We kept a roof over your head. We did what we had to do." I stared at them. "Where is he buried?" My mom's face crumbled and my dad told me to drop it, but I was already at the back door. He tried to grab my arm, but I jerked away and ran outside to the garden in the back corner my mom always told me not to touch. I walked over with my heart pounding and found a small stone with flowers around it. I knelt and brushed away dirt where an engraving read, "Ricky, forever loved." My parents had followed me outside. We couldn't afford a funeral or burial plot, and if we reported his death, we'd have to explain why we waited after we'd already filled out paperwork saying he was alive, and we panicked. I stood up, anger pulsing through my body. "You buried him like a pet." I couldn't look at them anymore. I walked past both of them into the house, and the only thing I could think was that my family was built on a lie and a grave in the backyard.